Hello, welcome to today's HR Huddle. I'm Tamera Loerzel, and with me is my partner, Jennifer Wilson. We're glad you're here today. And we've been doing some work, mostly my partner, Jennifer, has been immersed in this work this past year, working on the accounting pipeline. And the final report is about to be released this week. And so we thought we would stop and share some of the background about the work that's been done this past year, and also the 6 themes and some strategies specifically for employers that have come out of it. And we might, touch on a few others as well, but there's a lot that we can do to affect the accounting pipeline. I think that's the bottom line, the punchline maybe, that we can do individually and that we can do as a firm and employers. And that we can influence out in other places, like with educators and the universities that we touch, et cetera. So maybe, Jen, you want to just give a brief history, of the evolution of this project and who's been involved.
Gladly, Tamera, thank you. So the National Pipeline Advisory Group is a group of 22 independent stakeholders from different perspectives, academics, including universities and community colleges, state societies, regulators, firms of a variety of sizes, finance departments, consultants, different folks from all over the United States who had different perspectives and came together to say, how can we solve this pipeline crisis? And ultimately, our mission was to figure out strategies that would attract more people to a career in accounting, some of whom would go on to become licensed. So we would increase the population, let's say, of both accountants and CPAs. And we did a whole bunch of research, and we read a lot of fantastic research, and we tried to identify root causes and sort of dispel like folklore and groupthink, and instead just focus on fact, data-driven fact. Which was awesome to get to the root cause of various pipeline issues. And then we generated solutions that we thought might work for those. And we came up with 6 solution themes, which we'll talk about in a second. And then we went out and tested our solutions in a national survey, which concluded, late April, early May. We wrote an executive summary, about 8 pages, and a strategic plan for growing the pipeline in the 6 theme areas. It's about 88 pages if you're super ambitious. You can learn so much about what we did at accountingpipeline.org. But we came up with solutions in these 6 theme areas. And in the past, we've talked to our folks, our friends here at HR Huddle, about one of the theme areas, which was tell a better story. We have to tell a better story, in order for people to be attracted. And the current one, that's something like toiling and overworking, and how hard it is to keep up with standards, and a whole bunch of other stuff that we say, isn't that attractive? But we've been saying the whole time at NPAG, that's what we call ourselves, National Pipeline Advisory Group, NPAG. At NPAG, we've been saying, hey, we need to tell a better story. And there is a really great story to tell about our profession. We have a cool technology forward, difference making, really collegiate, smart profession that makes a huge difference, not just in the US and not just for individuals and for companies and entities, but also for the global economy. But anyway, we want to tell a better story, but we also felt like there was a lot to the story that was kind of negative that needs to be addressed. So we have to have a better story to tell a better story. And part of that are these other themes, a more engaging education experience, which we can touch on in another day, addressing the additional time and cost of education to get licensed, so very specific to CPA, and how to address that additional time and cost of education, the barrier it provides. And we talked about attracting more underrepresented minorities to our profession and making them, a completely included, welcomed, successful part of the fabric of this profession, to really embrace underrepresented minorities as who we are in accounting. And I think that's all the themes. But the sixth theme that I want to touch on, which is part of having a better story to tell. So that's the five so far. Six is really create a more engaging, enriching employee experience. And that's where we, the listeners here, and Tamera and I have the ability to directly impact the pipeline every day. And so, Tamera, maybe you want to step in and talk about some of those ideas from the employer experience pillar of the plan, and also how we as individuals can make a difference.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that's probably one of the biggest takeaways and messages, is that individually we can do so much. We don't have to wait for, the national organizations and, the educators and regulators and everybody else to fix what's broken. We can figure out what can we do to make accounting appealing and engaging and fun, because it is. And there's so many opportunities in it. Maybe that's where I'll start, Jen, is really clear career paths and all the options that are available in accounting today. And I think if you talk to any of the next gen, in your firm and organizations, at college campuses, like they want to know where they're headed. They want to know where you're headed, where they fit, and what kind of career paths they can have in there, and have very clear, what does it take to progress? What kind of learning they're very interested in learning? What kind of learning experience am I going to have? What kind of, coaching and mentorship and personal development is available? What does it take to progress to each level, and having very clear competencies and steps? And, young people are used to that in school these days with the rubrics. To have very clear, expectations about what that is, and then really clear, what does it take to become a partner in a CPA firm? And I think firms have been working on that over the last, several years for sure. So some are maybe further ahead than others. But even inside of that, we just talked to a firm last week, and they're like, there's this one level we're missing. We're not really investing in, and we want to talk to you about how we invest in them. But some firms don't have really clear, paths to partner. And it's like, we'll know it when we see it, and we'll figure it out. And, your young people are not going to hang for that. And even some of your managers, senior managers, newer partners are not going to hang for that. And so we can say, how can we really engage people and, tether them in, is having a really clear path, and then having options to defer from that path.
Yes.
Because there's new opportunities, there's new services that we need to provide. There's all kinds of IT and data analytics and, specialty, tax services. And maybe they don't like tax and they want to go into consulting, or, there's so many career paths that we should be able to off-road with them. And we'd rather them do that with us and go somewhere else. And so we, we would like them to be able to do that and, have it available to them and communicate that's available. So I think that's one of the, solutions, is getting really clear about career opportunities, career paths. What does it take to progress? How can I move, on or off career paths, and be talking about it, be super transparent about that, within your organization.
Tamera, the only other thing I would say about the career pathing is recognize that we need to express opportunities and options inside our profession that our organization may not offer. So when we're out there and we're talking to middle schoolers and high schoolers, whether we're going onto campuses, which we'd love to see you do, but also they're, if you have any children in your life, nieces, nephews, your own children, their friends, when you're talking about the profession, not making it sound like it's just got one track or your track, so all you talk about is taxes, or all you talk about is audit, or whatever it may be. There are so many other cool pathways. I was saying the other day at a conference, I'm in the accounting profession. I went to school for accounting, but I'm not a CPA and I'm not an accountant. I am a CEO who runs the finance department of our firm. That's the accounting I do, but it isn't much. Instead, I'm in the profession, but I'm part of accounting, and Tamera is. And I was saying it to Dan Hood, who writes for Accounting Today. I was like, he's in the profession. He's not an accountant, but there's forensic analysts, and there's data analysts, and there's operational people like what? Who's our audience today?
HR professionals.
Yeah, talent people of there's so much potential inside our profession to do different things. And people don't get that. They're just thinking very kind of linearly, whatever their picture is. And so for career pathways, we've got to paint kind of the whole possibility for people to see, man, this is a profession I want to be part of. So another employer strategy that NPAG really focused on, and probably the most important one, and the one that got the most agreement between students. We surveyed 2,000 students, and 85% of them really thought this strategy would make a difference in the pipeline, have a positive impact. And then 84% of all the other stakeholders that included firm leaders, finance department leaders, academics, those in government, so the other folks, let's say, they all agreed that this would be a needle mover, and that's increase starting salaries. And when we talk about that, a portion of the population cheers and the rest go, be quiet. We don't want to talk about that. And we have to talk about that. I'm sorry. So first, owner income, CFO, controller earnings have grown considerably over time. And the percentages are really amazing in terms of growth and the the profits in being a part of this at a senior level, at a leadership level, let's say. But when we start out, we aren't competitive with other business majors. So where we might have 9 people that start in a business college, only 1 picks accounting. And some of that's how engaging is the accounting curriculum. But some of it is they get in there and they start talking to their other business major friends and they find out, man, economics pays more, actuarial pays more, finance pays more, data science pays more, business administration pays more. Starting out of the gate. And a lot of us as employers, we think, I'm competitive with other employers at starting salaries. When I go to career fairs for accounting grads, for other accounting firms, I'm competitive with those folks. Well, I hope you are. You have to be at least at or above market, but we want you to be competitive with other business majors, the kinds of companies that would hire both accounting grads and accountants from your organization. We have to pay attention. Everybody wants an accounting grad. That's one thing I'll say for sure. But they really have to feel like the starting salary to go into a career in accounting would really, pay off, that there's an ROI. And a lot of folks try to say, wait a minute, let's think about the long-term strategy. Just invest now, make a little less now, because by mid-career, you'll make it up. That's called delayed gratification, or, waiting till later. And I get the idea. And many of us were raised with like, you will be better if you practice delayed gratification. But let's just tell you, Gen Zs especially, that they don't have to delay their gratification. There's so many opportunities out there to major in and pursue different careers that would pay more out of school. And it's harder to get housing today. It's way more expensive. The costs of loans for school are through the roof. They can't afford to delay the gratification of the earnings because the debt is not delayed. The encumbrance of cost is not delayed. And so there's 100 reasons that we have to do this. And I can spout statistics like mad because I've studied that out of it. And I'm passionate about it, in case you can't tell. But I want you to read more at accountingpipeline.org. Read the Enhance the Employee Experience chapter of this strategic plan for the data. And you will be surprised. We're not competitive right now in starting salaries, and we haven't been keeping up with inflation either. Right. Other career segments have kept up with inflation better, and so we are behind. And the last thing I want to say on this, Tamera, is big objection is, man, if we increase starting salaries, we're going to have to increase all the salaries. It'll crush us, and we don't believe that's going to be true. If you do a salary study, and you look at your salary bands by level and you look at your different groups, you're going to find that there's some big jumps that are made between perhaps senior and supervisor, between supervisor and manager in most organizations, and between manager, senior manager, or manager director. Big gaps there. And so we think that you can raise the lower rungs of your salary grid, and you won't impact those middle areas. There's going to be some room for it. Now, that might not be the case in every organization, but we think you'll be surprised at how you can smooth that out and increase and make our profession look more attractive from an immediate ROI perspective.
Yeah, love that. I think that's something we absolutely have to do. And I think the other thing, another thing that we have to do is really look at the workload and overwhelm and burnout. That is one of the stories that young people are telling at school, and that, we hear at different, conferences and events, and you can see it in writing on Reddit and Going Concern. And that is something that we can impact directly within our organizations. Yes, we're going to have those deadlines. Yes, we're going to, have, client commitments and all the things that, might drive some of that. But we can say, how can we work differently to smooth out the work? Where are we saying yeses, first of all, for what kind of clients we serve and the timing of the clients, and where we've got too many that, create those massive peak periods? What can we do to smooth them out? Can we do some extensions? Can we move some of those, timelines where possible, but also get creative on resources using non-CPAs in our work streams and processes, client service coordinators, other, team members to be able to do some of the work that doesn't require an accountant or a CPA for sure. Automating like crazy, using AI and technology to create efficiencies. It's not taking away jobs, it's taking away some of the tasks so that we can elevate the work that we need to be doing for our clients. And there is a domino effect to our learning, models and the way that we, bring people in as interns and staff, and, train people and, get them the experience they need so that they can elevate faster. But they want to, they want to do that anyway. It's more engaging and motivating, that kind of work that they're working on. And so we have to say, how can we smooth out that work? We know some firms that, are saying 40 or 45 hours year round. We're not doing anything else beyond that. And you're like, there's no way we can do that. But they just get very committed. They get very committed about who their ideal client is, what kind of timing that is, the use of other resources, the use of technology, scheduling, having a centralized scheduler and looking across the firm, not by pockets or not by office. If you're a multi-office firm, there's many, many things that you can do to create a more even stream, of work by discipline. And you're looking at the different service lines that we have and those peaks and valleys, that were impacted, by each one of those. So I think that's a big one. And it would help with the brand of accounting. And that's not just in public accounting. I know mostly we're talking to, public accounting here, but that's not just in public accounting. We've got those cycles, in any accounting or finance department. Accounting just gets a very, very bad rap about that. And we've got to say, how can we, what kind of solutions can we put in place to directly impact that? And there are many, that we can, do. And I just gave you, several to start out with to look at and assess. And we've done some HR huddles on some of those topics before, and we can do more on those. But, just looking to say, what can we control? And by the way, your young people, your managers especially, probably have lots of ideas of what we can do to smooth out that work and get them involved, to problem solve. And, they can start to be part of the solution as well.
Love it, Tamera. So last idea, a big idea, and we're not going to be able to do it justice, but we will do a separate HR huddle on it, is to really create an inclusive sense of belonging and attract and retain more underrepresented minorities inside our organizations to make our organizations more diverse and more welcoming and more inclusive, and provide better support and advocacy for underrepresented minorities inside our organizations. Make sure those folks that come in and are attracted to a career in accounting feel the love. They feel their potential. They really are included. And to do that, we have to change a lot of mindset. We have to understand unconscious bias. We have to understand our numbers. We need to see, really where we fall from a diversity perspective, and not just in total number, but new recruits, turnover percentages, how pay equity looks. There's a lot of work to do to make sure that our profession embraces underrepresented minority groups, because that really reflects the population of the United States. And underrepresented minority groups are growing in the U.S. They are becoming and are the face of our clients and our prospective employees and our prospective high schoolers and college students. And we have to really create something completely inclusive and completely supportive inside our employment organizations. And I really stress this for the clients, the firms that I coach, because I think it's one of the biggest difference makers. I think it's one of the biggest competitive differentiators in the short run. And I think it's one of the smartest strategies you can employ.
I love that, Jen. Yes. So I think those are 4 big ideas that we talked about. There's a whole bunch of, strategies and ideas underneath them. And there's more in that report if you want to go download it and maybe take a section and digest it, read the executive summary and then, take a section and digest it and talk about it with your leadership team and come up with some ideas and strategies that you can put in place. And, we've still got time this year to impact, our seasons next year that start in January 2025 or our fall season. What can we do differently here that's coming up very, very fast? And so we hope you pick something, and, we would love your questions. We welcome feedback. If you're interested in this topic, let us know. And we can dialogue with you. So thank you for coming today. And we will look forward to seeing you on our next HR Huddle. Thank you very much.